Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business series of What Are You Good At? Myself and Jeff Gunsberg with Title Connect for all your commercial and residential commercial title needs. Jeff, it's good to see you. Owen, it's great to see you.
Always great to see you.
We talked last week. Owen Garitty, he is the CEO and the founder of FPW Media, fpwmedia.com, where the impossible, they make the impossible possible on a daily basis for their clients, marketing company working with clients all over the globe. Owen, this show is all about, Jeff and I were talking a couple months ago. He mentioned something, he said to somebody, hey, what are you good at? I said, hey, Jeff, that sounds like a great podcast series. We should do that. So that's how that came about. And the core is really people figuring out what their unique ability is. What are they good at, and how did they take that and build a business for this purpose? So how did you know you were good at marketing?
Well, I had a really non-traditional upbringing. I started doing professional photography when I was 15. And
I thought you were going to say like 4. I thought
no.
I'm a prodigy. I'm a child.
I'm a marketing prodigy.
I was shooting weddings at 7. Right. Sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll add a few years, and then we start at 15, and we were doing that. And then by the time I was just out of high school, I was already working with a bunch of brands in a couple of different cities, and had a lot of exposure to the agency world in general, and just got a front row seat about how incompetent I think most agencies are, and just felt like there was an opportunity to do something different. And, as per the subject of the podcast, I think one of the things that I'm good at is just not listening to what people say you should do. And so I just went out and did something that everybody said was crazy.
So it seems like you're an against the grain kind of guy. You mentioned different and, things that others maybe aren't doing. How did you identify what the mainstay was like in the marketing world, and then pivot to no, I can do this better, or I could change this, or I could do it this way? How did that kind of evolve with you?
Yeah. So my family has had a background in some hospitality assets. And so I've, grown up being at different hotels and staying at different resorts and having that experience from a young age. And, the beautiful thing is when you check into a 5-star hotel, there's a phone in your room, and you can call and you can get, if you want a zebra, maybe it'll be a horse painted like a zebra down in the lobby, but you're going to get whatever you want, right? Within reason, and you're going to have to pay for it. And so seeing what really good service was from a very young age allowed me to kind of see what really bad service looks like, and have this idea of what if we do the marketing experience, but with a hospitality focused customer service experience.
It's great. So
that is great.
I have two quick questions. One quick question: favorite hotel you've ever stayed at?
Four Seasons Bali.
Nice. Okay. Good. All right.
Lucky man.
Next question.
Yes.
Next question.
Yes.
All right. So you're a photographer at 15. How did you, a couple of things. How did you know you liked photography, and what was it about what you saw through a lens that changed your perception of things?
So I first picked up a camera at 11. My parents put me in a summer camp that was arts and crafts focused, and one of the disciplines was black and white photography. So at that time, it was still processing negatives in the dark room. Probably one of the last photographers to really learn that way before digital really came out. And it was the only thing that I've ever done in my life that I immediately loved, right? Mm. And so I was just hooked from then on in. Any spare money I had, I bought a camera. I would save up money to process negatives, because at that time, right, it was quite expensive. And then digital came along, made the switch over to digital, and just went from there.
Wow. Like it's so interesting to me. Like, like you could potentially, I think about this in my business, like, like I could be potentially like the last guy around who like learned it this particular way, like in this like analog version of like what that is. Do you think that has played a role, like you learning it kind of quote unquote old school in your success now, how you view things and see things?
100%. When you're doing film photography, what's in the frame is incredibly impactful. So, right, we talk a lot about storytelling. You're having to set up that story, but you maybe get one or two chances at it. The light changes or whatever, and you don't actually get to see what it looks like until days later, potentially, when you process the film. And so it forces you to imagine in your mind what the scene is going to look like in a way that now with digital you don't have to do. You just simply can shoot it and see what it looks like, move things around, and continually change it. Where the analog way forces you to completely do things differently. And I've really taken that approach all the way through every business venture that I've done. Is like, okay, let's visualize. I'm a very visual person. Let's visualize what we want the outcome to be, and then let's craft the story around that.
Right. Wait, John, hold on one sec. I'm sorry. I just have a phone.
Yeah, go.
So yeah, like that's like play the tape forward, like to like envision that whole, like what this is, going to look like in the end. So I think that's just amazing. I just wanted to make a quick comment about that.
No, I think it's, Owen, how old are you?
I'm 35. Well, 35 in a couple days. My birthday's July 5th.
I'm the 4th. By the way, I'm July 4th.
Heck yeah, happy birthday.
Maybe we'll sing happy birthday at the end if we have time.
Please not.
John,
please don't.
By the way, if you sing it, I'll stay on to listen.
Thank you. So I want to talk about this for a second. So you're 35, I'm 53. Jeff, how old are you going to be?
I'm going to be 48 July 4th.
48. So you're 35 years old. You're one of the last people to kind of really do photography in a dark room. And so a couple of things. One, I was talking with my family yesterday, and my wife and my sister-in-law were saying that our kids are going to say, you actually had to drive a car where your like hands were on the steering wheel. But I read an article in 2000. This comment makes me sound smarter than I am. But I read an article in 2008 in the Atlantic that talked about that technology was called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And it was talking about how because things are coming at us so quickly, it is taking away delayed gratification. And so now it's just about instant gratification. And so what are we losing from a creative standpoint, right? You were at this arts and crafts camp. A part of arts and crafts and part of creativity is imagination, the delayed wait and what you experienced, what you learned, the ideas that you had. Today, it's so instant, and ChatGPT can give you so much stuff so quickly. Where do we find the space to actually kind of recreate what we've lost in that space?
Or maybe we don't, right? I think that the premise, let's challenge the premise of that question for a second, of maybe the next generation is going to look back and say, remember when we only had large language models, where we didn't have sentient entities that we interacted with on a daily basis, right? So if you think about it, like look backwards, how much has changed. Now think about where we are, look forward. Maybe it's not what you're saying. Maybe it's going to be so different that they'll look back fondly on where we're at today.
Yeah, maybe. I don't doubt that. But do you think from a creative space, like we need time to just think? Like I'll give you an example. Oh, yeah. So I have another business called Launch 3. I have a business partner. And in that business, we have kind of a rule. Anytime we have an idea that we think is amazing, we say 24 hours. We give ourselves 24 to 48 hours to process and think it, to kind of, maybe because we're older, we need that space. Maybe our generation needs a little bit of that space to just kind of let it process. I don't know, Jeff. What do you think?
Well, listen, I mean, generationally speaking, okay, like I'm talking to my father, for instance, okay, he's like a 3-week process time kind of person, right? Like I'll say something to him, he'll be like, what, like, Dad, what do you think about, like maybe we could go here, for your birthday for dinner. He's like, whoa, like, hold on a minute, like I need a little, I don't know, like I don't know what I'm gonna want to eat on this particular day. Like it depends, Jeff. I might have already had Middle Eastern food on this day. I don't know if I want to, I just need some time. So, this is an extreme example of what you're talking about, but I find, John, is amazing working with my sales team, and we have these conversations a lot and talk about the pause, like things are coming at us so fast in my business and what I do. It's really, really important for, for us to take that moment before we, and make sure that we're responding instead of reacting to a situation. On the creative side of things, I don't really have a frame of reference, right? Like with that and what you do and how you do it. But I would imagine, just it kind of blows me away, Owen, like what you're saying about, like taking a photo through the lens and not actually being able to see what the image looks like until you develop it. Like that to me, and some of the greatest photographs of all time have been taken in that manner.
Yeah.
The images that we've seen from, just in history, from war and from business and from this and from that, a million different things. Like that to me is so cool to like think that like somebody like that image came up. Like you have the chance now to be like, oh, I took that and I don't like that one, but maybe that was the right one. And then you just keep taking it over and over and over, and it like dilutes it maybe. So I don't
totally,
know.
It totally dilutes it. And now we're at this weird place where, like, let's use the image analogy. If you're scrolling on Facebook, is that image that you're looking at even real now?
Right.
Because
totally.
And so then there starts to be this question of what is real. And I think that really what we'll see is a reversion back to some of the basics, because at a certain point, if people can't trust what they're seeing, they're going to want to get closer to the ground and have a little bit more authentic of an experience, right? So I'm actually kind of thinking that it'll sort of bifurcate, right? You'll have this advancement of technology, but then you'll also have a reversion to some of the analog, right? So like in my business, we're really still heavily like paper promotional products because it's a huge differentiator. Like sending somebody a folder that's really nice with printed glossy material in it, nobody does that anymore, right? They send you an email. Yeah. And so it's like, I think the reversion maybe back to the analog, especially in creative pursuits, is going to be a big trend.
I think that's
so right.
Yeah.
Cause like think about what we talk about. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, tell them about what you learned at that conference about Mr. Wonderful.
Oh God. I mean, this guy, like it's just, like we're talking about just showing this whole, this like the social media part of it.
Yeah.
John?
No. The part about his AI version.
Oh God. I mean, so he put up so Kevin O'Leary was at this convention, and so he put up on the screen an AI Kevin and a real Kevin, right? And they both said the same things. I could tell the difference, okay? But he specifically said to us, he's like, you know what, I can only go to one place to do this, and that's Dubai right now in the UAE. This is where the technology is there, where the data center, like the main folks who are, putting on this, have the ability or the capability to even, handle this stuff are there. And he said, listen, here's what you can tell now. You can see the little bit of the difference. In 1 week, I'm going back and I'm filming 100 different mannerisms that I have, and they're going to make it smarter and change it. And like, it's going to be, you're never going to be able to tell it's me, you know. And he made the comment, he was like, dangerous, yes, but can also advance business and technology so much further. It's like, you know, unbelievable to him. Right. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane, really. Yeah, I mean, we're like I said, I think kind of going back to the premise of the question is probably if this same conversation is happening in 20 years from now, it's going to be like, oh, well, that was so, you know, that was the film. We're in the dark room right now when we talk about AI. And so, you know, on the podcast is going to be a robot that's fully interacting with people as if it's a
so crazy being.
Maybe I am a robot, Owen.
Maybe you are, Jeff.
By the way, John's
a robot
surprised. John hasn't been here the entire time.
Right. So a couple of things. I'm always, you know, Owen, we talked last week. I'm so impressed with, you know, how you look at business and how you think of questions, you know, and how you think about business and marketing. You know, you consider yourself kind of the unagency. And something you said earlier was that you know, knowing who not to listen to. And I think that's really important because I think we're in a world that is going so fast. We're in a world where you have to make a decision quickly. We're also in a world where you do have to kind of find your pause to make sure you're making the right decision. I'm listening to, and I may have shared this with you last week when we talked, my favorite podcast is Founders. And the most recent episode that David Senrod just posted was Miguel Ferrero, who is the basically Willy Wonka of candies. And he was this really like reclusive, like no interviews, $1 billion company. But one of his things that he did was he made it a point not to listen to people, to really tap into his gut, to understand what people really, really wanted. You know, it's like how people would, Henry Ford used to say, if I asked people what they wanted, they would say faster horses. And so I want to know how you knew and how you continue to tap into your guts, right? That you're good at that, and how you tap into your gut and your instincts to discern what you'll listen to, what you won't, or pieces thereof.
So one of the things that I really kind of operate on is that I believe that anything is possible with enough time and money inside the laws of physics. So essentially, any business problem can be solved on a long enough timeline or with enough resources, right? And so that's the basis of every starting point from a decision standpoint. And essentially, I just want to bet on myself, right? As an entrepreneur, and I think any entrepreneur that's listening, the ones that are really successful versus the ones that are not, have just continued to bet on themselves. Even if they fail, they'll bet on themselves again. And so I'm really thinking about it as like, okay, what can I do with the time I have available and the resources I have available? And I'm going to do it in the way that I think is going to be most successful. Because ultimately, the market's going to tell me whether I'm right or wrong, right? Customers will either respond favorably or negatively. And at the end of the day, everybody has an opinion, but none of them are taking the risk. So for me, at least, I take in all the information, I listen to everything that they are saying, and then I make a decision based on that, right? I watched an interview of Warren Buffett a really long time ago where he basically was saying that he doesn't care if he's up or down in a year, right? What he cares about is at the end of the year, does he think he made the best decisions possible with the information that he had? And that was like a really game changer of a way of thinking about things for me, is that it doesn't matter if you're up or down. It's, did you make the best decisions with the information that was available to you at that time?
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that's it's extremely wise advice, you know, or just knowledge to be shared, because, you know, I think people question all the time, right? I question myself all the time. Like, did I, you know, is that right? Like, did I do that right? Did I handle that situation correctly? And you know, I think what you have to do is figure out a way to put yourself in a place. What you said was right. Like, I kind of felt like I was giving you know, you were the kid who listened to the advice that the parent gave of like, listen, you got 2 years for one reason, you know, listen to what's out there, take all the information in, retain it, understand it, and then from there you can make your choice. And if you do that and you take the pause and you think to yourself, about what your mission is, what your goal is, and then take all the info you got and make that choice and move forward, that's all you can do. So it's great to hear.
Great. I heard something a long time ago. There's no bad decisions. There's just bad assumptions. And one bad assumption can take down a company. And that also kind of resonated with me on a deep level, because, you could make an assumption today, but based on factors that happen within a day, you can change an assumption. So I'm always kind of rechecking my assumption sets to see how kind of, in line they are. I think it's great. Last question before we move into a speed round. How do you, with technology moving, marketing moving, shifts like you talked about, analog, et cetera, that you shared earlier, what does the world look like in 3 to 5 years? AI is getting smarter and smarter and smarter. People are having, have less of an attention span by the day. Different generations are coming in and leaving of who's purchasing things. So what does marketing look like 3 years from today?
I think marketing 3 years from today is going to be really succeeding or failing based almost solely on story, because the tactics are going to continue to speed up. The ability to put content into market is going to speed up, but you're also going to see just the ever increasing trend of the amount of noise that exists, right? So like if we think about, okay, in 3 years from now, however many, the average American sees about 5,000 ads a day right now. I would bet
that's a stat right now.
That's 5, a stat. 000. Yeah.
So the average American sees 5,000 ads a day.
Yeah.
How much time do they spend on each ad, Owen?
Well, you'd have to do the math, right? Of like
millisecond.
How many.
Yeah, I guess divided by 20, whatever, 18 hours. I guess I can do that math. Okay.
You have 1,440 minutes in a day, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're sleeping for part of that. So if you think about that divided by 5,000, like you're talking about absolute like milliseconds, fractions of a second. But I mean, even think about your commute. You probably see, 100, 200, 300 ads just driving to and from work. And then if you pick up a paper or whatever, social media, everything. I mean, it's truly insane. And most Americans watch 3 or 4 hours of television a day in some form or fashion, whether that be streaming or whatever. And so you're seeing all the ads there, so forth and so on. Like when you really start to add it all up, you realize, oh, that's actually a possible number. That sounds really high, but it's really very possible for most people. And what I would say is that that's just going to continue to accelerate. And ultimately, the only way you win the attention game is that you connect with somebody on an emotional level, right? Going back to Jeff's point of, the end, that very famous photo at the end of World War II, where the GI is dipping the girl and giving her a kiss in Times Square, right? Very iconic photo. You have to get back to somehow creating stuff like that gets people to pay attention, right? Something that will cut through and grab somebody and make them feel something to connect with your brand.
It's great. I think that's a great place to end, and we'll continue. We'll do another interview with you in a couple months and talk about storytelling. I'm a big fan. I talk about that a lot with clients, the power of storytelling. I think that's great. I appreciate all your shares. Quick speed round. A hotel you haven't stayed at that you want to stay at somewhere in the world?
Oh, the Amman in Utah.
Oh, yes.
I have
anywhere?
I have been to the Amanpuri in Phuket.
How was it?
Yeah, it was great. We were there on our honeymoon, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
How do you eliminate the noise? That's my question, based on what your last statement was. Easiest way, best way.
For yourself, or like in business?
For you, just generally for yourself.
Focus on what's important.
One picture, one person or place you'd want to take a picture of.
One person or place I'd want to take a picture of. The top of Mount Everest.
All right. Do you want to climb it?
Are you going to go?
Okay. All right.
He wants to
Owen,
live.
You said
He
wants,
enjoys
not
life.
going
I know,
to.
I know, but I thought you were gonna we started out thinking you were a child prodigy in photography. I thought you were telling me you were like gonna go, hike Everest.
No.
I love having you on the show. It's great. Tell everybody, we really didn't talk too much about your business, but tell everybody who your ideal clients are and a little bit about your company.
Absolutely. So we're a fully integrated marketing agency. We work coast to coast and internationally, and we're really focused on helping brands that are evolving and adapting their message to the next generation of consumer or decision maker, or a challenger brand who's looking to get really aggressive and take market share in a specific market.
It's great. Jeff, tell them about your company.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Yes, Title Connect, also Exchange Connect, 1031 exchanges, as well as title insurance. Anybody out there looking for commercial, residential, sales, refinances, etc., we're here and ready to help.
All right. And I'm a business coach, johndwoskin.com. Owen, give me your website.
Think big. Think big.
FPWmedia.com or OwenGaritty.com.
Jeff, what's your website?
Title-connect.com, and my phone number is 248-563-7919.
This was great. Owen, thanks, man. This was great. Always enjoy hearing a little bit about your business and your story. Think community. I just want to end with a couple things that Owen shared. Extract a couple things. One, love what you do. Invest in yourself. Those are great things. And do what and listen to yourself and do what other people aren't doing. So this is great. Jeff, any closing thoughts?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? Be different. Find a new way for yourself and what makes sense for you. It seems like you're true to yourself and you have a passion for what you're doing. So amazing, Owen. Thanks for being on.
All right. Thanks guys.
Jeff. Thanks, John.
Appreciate it, everybody.
Yeah.